Hi there everyone, it's good to be back again. I'm Petra, I'm a life coach and advocate for survivors of narcissistic and emotional abuse. So a big thank you once again to all the new subscribers and to all the subscribers, to all of you who continue to support the channel. So thank you very much. I've been just been thinking a lot and feeling a lot and going through, I would call it another growth in, personal growth in my personal life, in also just looking back on the last 2 years of coming out of narcissistic abuse. So it's almost been 2 years. And just how that has had an impact on my life. It started off as having a very negative impact, of course, as it does with all survivors. But I can truly look back now and just see the value of the lessons that I took from those very toxic relationships, and how you get to a point where you start to implement them into your daily life, the healing tools, and just looking back and seeing how far one comes when you really get down to the nitty-gritty, and when you are courageous enough to look at those wounds, to clean out the wounds, to see the bigger picture of narcissistic abuse. And this has been something that has been playing on my mind for a couple of weeks, and I thought there's probably very many of you who are going through that same sort of stage right now, and it might just be a good opportunity to bring up this topic. So the topic for today is about narcissistic abuse being really a spiritual and emotional warfare. And when I say spiritual, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the spiritual principalities that we all have. And I'm talking about just having those values in life, very valuable values that carry us through life, that allow us to look at ourselves, that allow us to heal ourselves, because I believe that everyone is capable of self-healing. Sometimes, yes, you will need the tools to further you along your journey, but at the end of the day, we are all responsible for healing ourselves. It is by implementing the tools, it's by taking a second look at our actions, at our words, how we show up in life, how we interact with others, what our triggers are, how we deal with those triggers. And this all stems from going through the very horrific experiences when being in the midst of emotional and spiritual warfare, narcissistic abuse. So abuse, and especially narcissistic abuse, harms our spirit by severing our connection to self. We lose a sense of self, we lose the connection to self. We place all of our values and all of our commitment to life, we place in the hands of the abuser, or in the power. We give our power away to the abuser in our lives. And this causes, the spirit, by severing the connection to self, which is what happens when we are going through narcissistic abuse, it just causes distress, it causes misery, anxiety, temporary insanity. I can also vouch for that. I got to a point where I thought that I was going absolutely out of my mind. So it is temporary insanity that you go through. And thank goodness it is only temporary. But it also allows you to look at what is really going on. And this is why we find it very difficult to recover from narcissistic abuse, is because it has to do with the invisible. When visible abuse is going on, it is very palpable. It is something that you can relate to. You can see it going on. But when abuse happens in the invisible sense, this is what gets us so confused and looking for answers from a logical point of view, when there just aren't any, because emotional warfare is not logical. It all happens on the inside. It is what is going on in our minds, in our bodies, in our spirit, in our hearts, and it is not visible to the outside world. So this is the inner turmoil that we go through. This is why it is so difficult to explain to someone who has never been through it what we are truly experiencing. Because most times, of course, people looking in from the outside will say, we don't understand what's going on. You have a great partnership with the abuser. You seem to be functioning very well. You seem to be happy together. You seem to have a great friendship. This is all on the outside, you know, and this is why we cannot communicate to others what it feels like unless the other person has been through it. So the visible realm of life, as I just said, is very obvious to us. We can see what's going on. But narcissistic abuse is invisible. It is all around us in a sense, but not visible. So all of the abuse is committed at a deeper level. It is an attack on our minds, on our sense of self, on our confidence, on our perception of life, on how we show up in life, what we bring to the table. It is an attack on our values, on our principalities. It's a battle. It really is it's a cosmic battle with this very evil energy. These people, you know, the abusers in life, they are hosts of wickedness, these energy vampires. They place a full-fledged attack on our emotional system, on our nervous system. And this is why emotional warfare robs you of your sanity, of your health, of your prosperity, and it attacks your nervous system. And this is why we experience complex stress syndrome afterwards. This is why we cannot think straight. This is why we have these continuous thoughts moving through our minds. Every single waking moment of our lives, we have these thoughts, and we are replaying experiences, and we are replaying things that the narcissist has said to us. Certain situations, we are checking ourselves to say how, you know, to see how we related to the situation, and how they related, and how we interacted with them. So it is a continuous battle. It has been an attack on our nervous system. And this is why we feel completely broken, we feel exhausted, we feel depleted, and we just don't know how to move on from there. But the beautiful thing is that when you are given those tools to move on, when you realize that you are really the authority in your own life and that you can make those changes, then it is absolutely imperative to not only educate yourself on what this emotional warfare is and spiritual warfare. See how this is not just, it is not simply a personality disorder. It is a clashing of energies. You know, when I said it is a cosmic battle, it is a clashing of energies. And it's not only the warfare between good and evil, but it goes so much more deeper than that. Because what it is really trying to show us is that we need to get back in touch with self. We need to reclaim our power. We need to have that authority back in our lives, because this is all the good stuff that we have given away when going through this emotional warfare. And you know, it's not natural to function in dysfunction. It is not a natural thing. It is a learnt behavior. It is when you are paralyzed, especially being the adult child of a narcissistic parent, you have been paralyzed, emotionally paralyzed, because of the emotional warfare at a very young age. And this is why I say, you know, you can never fully, this is just my opinion. I'm sure there are very many opinions on this out there, but my opinion is that you don't fully recover for the full 100% from childhood abuse, but you can hit at least 85%. And this, what I mean by this is that you will always have the memory of the emotional abuse, because don't forget that, you know, when you have been growing up in dysfunction, that it is not a natural state. And this is all that you have known your whole life. You have seen the dysfunction, you have seen the hurt, you have seen how you have been shut down every time you voice an opinion or you show an emotion, whether that is crying, whether that is anger, whether it's happiness or joy. It is shut down by the narcissistic parent. And for those of us who have not grown up in dysfunctional homes, but who have come in contact with toxic energy, with toxic people in our lives, we this is where the attack also starts. You know, it may not be from an early age, but it is a very powerful attack. Our emotions are very powerful, and I think oftentimes we undermine our own emotions. You know, from growing up in a dysfunctional home, for those of you who have been through that, sadly enough, you are not taught to validate your emotions, because they were never validated by your caregivers or those who raised you. You know, those who had you, the people who conceived you, your parents. You have never been taught how to be in touch with emotions. And this is so important, you know, emotional health, looking at your emotional health and just seeing what that has done to you over the years, and how you have every single authority in your life to look at those emotions. And I think this is so important, to see, where is my emotional health faltered? Where does it need repair? Because with that emotional health and with your emotional intelligence, when coming out of emotional warfare, this is what is going to put you on the right track. And this is what is going to further you on your journey of life as well. When you have the courage to look at those emotions and to validate them. Every single emotion that you go through is validated. And of course, when you have been taught otherwise, you will not realize that it is your birthright to have these emotions. Emotions tell us so much about ourselves. They tell us about who we are. They tell us about our triggers. They tell us about our wounds. And this is why it is so imperative to look at that and to realize where you yourself are harboring toxic energy. Because when so much warfare has been going on in your life, emotional warfare, it is, you know, it cannot be any other way that you take on this toxic energy. You store it in your body, you harbor all this toxic energy, and this is what has an effect on our bodies. This is what keeps you in dysfunction. This is the attack on your nervous system, so that all these very vague illnesses will show up in your body. You will not feel well, you will feel tired all the time. This is the toxic energy that you are harboring. So you have to take authority of your emotions. You have to start to look at them and listen to what they are saying. They are so important for when you are getting into that whole beautiful journey of getting to know yourself again. Take authority of those emotions. This is why I love writing, you know, and I'm not talking about, I'm a very old-fashioned type of gal. When it comes to writing out emotions and feelings, I like to write them out, get out a notebook, you know, the smell of paper, and get out a good pen and just write down everything. So I don't do it on my iPad or on my telephone. It's all done in an old notebook. And it's about writing out your emotions, writing out your thoughts, writing out your feelings, putting them onto paper, being able to look at them, and then taking authority and saying, right, this is the way I'm feeling. What is that trying to tell me? How did I respond to certain situations growing up or when being involved with a toxic person? How can I respond to certain situations now? How do I honor my emotions? How do I honor my feelings? And how do I learn from that? How do I become a better man, a better woman? By honoring all those emotions, because they have been taken down through the emotional warfare that you have been subjected to. So you can win this battle by being vigilant of these people in your life, the toxic people in your life who are looking to take over and start that emotional warfare for you. You know, we are all spiritual beings. This is the way I view narcissism, being a spiritual life coach. I, of course, look at it from the scientific point of view, where you can speak of a personality disorder, but there is so much more that is going on there. It is not only the physical that is going on, it is also the emotional, it is the spiritual, and this is how it all ties into each other. And this is why, you know, if you go for regular therapy, after coming out of an emotional warfare, spiritual warfare, and you try and get help from regular therapy, this is where you find that you do not really mix well, because you cannot heal emotional warfare through regular self-help tips, to put it that way. It is an emotional and spiritual clean out that you have to go through. It is removing that toxic energy. And I think the best way to heal from this is to combine those two. Combine the regular self-help, regular therapy with spiritual principles as well. You have to combine those two, because there is so much more going on than just what is visible to the eye. It is all happening on the inside. It is all got to do with energy. What energy was transferred into you? What energies did you take on when being in an abusive relationship? So, yes, when I spoke of being at a deeper level, the emotional warfare being at a deeper level, it is also an attack on your internal resources. And your internal resources are your energy, your power, and your time. So when there is an attack on your energy that is leaving you feeling depleted, you do not have any self-confidence anymore, you have trouble making decisions, you find that you just lack motivation and inspiration, you are not motivated to move on. This is the attack on your own power. This is why we are attacked. It's because a toxic person, a narcissist, a sociopath, a psychopath, sees the power in us. They see our core values that we hold, that are natural, authentic values. And this is why they will attack these very things that make up who we are. Because they want to take you down. They want you to feel what they are feeling, which is really empty and depleted. So when there is attack on your power, it is also an attack on knowing who you are. And this is why you come out of these relationships and you don't have a sense of self anymore. You don't know who you are. You feel very lost. You feel very detached from yourself, from people around you. And you just have this very vague, it's like living in a fog, really. You don't see things clearly. This is all part of you being in an emotional warfare. So you have to connect with your spiritual source through, some do it through prayer. I prefer doing it through meditation, which of course is a form of prayer. It is getting back in touch and becoming silent and listening to your internal dialogue. Not only to the critical dialogue, though, your inner critic, but also listening to your inner voice that is telling you that you have every authority and every power to review your life and to make a difference in your own life, to turn things around for the positive. So that is one attack, of course, on your energy, the second on your power, and the third on your time. These are your inner resources. And your time, time is very relative. But when time is robbed from you, when that time is taken away from you, because you are involved in this emotional and spiritual warfare, because you are caught up in the drama of things, this is when the time is taken away from you. And I remember saying this to one of the abusers in my life, that I said, I cannot handle this drama. You are robbing me of my time. I cannot think straight. I cannot get a full day's work done. I cannot function properly as a mother. I feel very out of balance. I feel out of it. And of course, this was shut down. Again, your emotions are shut down. This was shut down by this person in my life who said, you're just making a big deal out of nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking a lot of gibberish. You need to go and get help, because you are just making up this stuff. I have not taken up much of your time. But in hindsight, you know, the 12 hours that you're awake, or that I was awake in the day, 8 hours were taken up by this other person's energy. So it is very real. Don't ever let the abuser tell you you're talking nonsense. You don't know what you're talking about. You're oversensitive. You are reading into things that are simply not there. No, 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 no. What you are feeling, because it is an emotional warfare, your emotions are being attacked. You are feeling those emotions. So do not ever let anyone tell you you have no right to feel those emotions. You have no right to think those thoughts. This is very real. And when you come to accept that, that is when you can start to make those changes. So please share your comments down here below. I'm sure this is, this is something that might have been a question in your own life as well. When you step back from a toxic relationship and you're trying to make sense of it, but you cannot make sense of it from a logical point of view, then you know that it's time to start looking inward and just look to see what was done to you at an emotional level. It's very real, people. It's very real. Never undermine and never underestimate the power of your thoughts, your emotions, and who you authentically are. So thank you again for tuning in, and please share your stories again. You can email me. I'll leave my email address below the video. You can check out my website if you'd like to, if you are considering one-to-one coaching, and please just share your comments and your stories here down below. Thank you again for watching. Take care, everyone, and start being that warrior in your life. Not warrior with an O, but warrior with an A. You have to be the warrior and the fighter and the lover in your life. Do not let that power be in the hands of someone else. Take and re-own your power. Thank you again for watching, and speak to you all next time. Bye for now.